From that chilling theme music to the iconic mask, Michael Myers has basically burrowed into our collective nightmares for decades now.
Oh, absolutely. He's the shape of pure evil, isn't he? Defined horror for so many.
Exactly. But even with a series as foundational as Halloween, there are these chapters, these moments that hold some surprising kind of twisted secrets. And today we're diving into one of the most infamous ones, a real enigma in the Halloween saga, Halloween, the Curse of Michael Myers.
Ah, yes. Halloween 6, definitely a conversation starter.
Right? And you might be thinking, why this film specifically? Well, among all the Halloween films, this is the one that really stands out as just so polarizing.
It really divides fans.
It's a film people whisper about, renowned not just for its on-screen stuff, but for a backstage story that's almost as twisted as Michael himself. Its production was notoriously complex, just tumultuous, and the fact that it exists in not just one, but two really different versions, that makes it an absolute goldmine for a deep dive like this. So, our mission today is basically to unravel that tangled web. Look at how it was made, dissect those multiple versions, and explore why it's still such a hot topic for fans. We want to give you a shortcut, really, to understanding this pivotal and, frankly, fascinating moment in the whole Halloween story. We're digging into some comprehensive sources that lay out pretty much every twist and turn of this film's wild journey.
That's a really great place to start because it's exactly how one film's production struggles can lead to such a captivating and complex legacy.
Yeah.
This isn't just about a movie, right? It's about the clash of creative visions. It's about studio interference, which is huge here.
Oh, yeah.
And the incredibly passionate, almost obsessive response you get from a dedicated fan base. Even films that might have been initially seen as, let's say, problematic can offer incredible insights into filmmaking itself and, the culture around it.
Absolutely.
And this film, it's a perfect case study in all of that.
Okay, so before we plunge too deep into the chaos, let's quickly set the scene, just the basic facts about this 6th chapter. The movie we're talking about is officially Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Came out September 29, 1995.
Right.
But interestingly, in early teasers, and really during a lot of pre-production, it had this much more provocative name, Halloween 666. The Origin of Michael Myers.
Yeah, that's a title that grabs your attention.
Doesn't it? And the writer, Daniel Ferens, actually has this funny story about how the final title, the slightly less satanic one, came about. He apparently suggested the curse as kind of a dark joke because the production itself was so troubled, so plagued with issues that he felt it was literally cursed.
That's actually pretty fitting, given everything.
Right. And it turns out executive producer Mustafa Akkad, maybe unintentionally, took him seriously, and the title just stuck.
Wow.
And coincidentally, it ended up mirroring the subtitle pattern of the Pink Panther films, Return, Revenge, and Curse.
No way. That's bizarre. A horror film taking cues from Peter Sellers.
Exactly. You can already kind of sense the strange energy around this whole project. Okay, so the core team. We had Joe Chappelle directing, working from Daniel Ferens' script, and the cast saw some familiar faces return and some new talent. Obviously, the legendary Donald Pleasence back as Dr. Sam Loomis.
A constant presence, thankfully.
And Paul Stephen Rudd, who we now know as Paul Rudd, in his feature film debut, actually, as adult Tommy Doyle.
Yeah, it's wild to think Ant-Man started his big screen career dodging Michael Myers.
Isn't it? Then Marianne Hagen as Kara Strode and Mitch Ryan as Dr. Terrence Wynn. And then there's Michael himself. George P. Wilbur, who played Michael back in Halloween 4, he initially came back for the role.
Right.
But, and this is a real sign of the production's instability, he was later replaced by A. Michael Lerner during those extensive reshoots.
The reshoots, we'll definitely need to unpack that.
Oh, absolutely. So, financially, Halloween. The Curse of Michael Myers was made on a pretty modest budget of $5 million, and it managed to gross $15.1 million domestically. Now, on paper, $15 million on a $5 million budget, that sounds okay, right? A profit.
Yeah, looks like a win.
But for the Halloween franchise at that time, this was a clear warning sign. It was actually the second lowest grossing entry in the whole saga, just barely ahead of Halloween 5.
Ouch.
Yeah. It sold about 3.475 million tickets. So what this tells us isn't just that it wasn't a huge hit, it's that the franchise, which was once this horror powerhouse, was visibly kind of losing its grip.
It was struggling. People weren't connecting the same way.
Exactly. It felt like it was desperate for a new direction, or maybe, a return to what made it work in the first place.
And that financial underperformance, combined with all the creative struggles we're about to get into, really set the stage for all the chaotic studio stuff that followed.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this film wasn't just meant to be like Halloween Part 6. It was designed as a significant expansion. It was supposed to be a real lore-deepening chapter.
Right, building on Part 5.
Exactly. Halloween 5 only hinted at the supernatural stuff, right?
Yep.
With the man in black and that weird thorn symbol.
Mm-hmm. Very mysterious.
So Curse of Michael Myers was supposed to dive deep into that. It attempts to explicitly explain Michael Myers' relentless, almost inhuman evil through this Curse of Thorn.
Which was a huge departure.
A major departure for the series. It basically transforms Michael from this embodiment of pure, unknowable evil, that terrifying force of nature, from the original into, well, a pawn, an instrument of this ancient, spooky cult.
Yeah.
And this brings up that immediate critical question for any fan. Did explaining Michael, giving him this clear motive rooted in ancient lore, did that make him scarier? Or did it, like many argue, completely strip away his mystique?
That's the core debate, isn't it?
It really is. It's a fundamental shift in the villain that defines the whole franchise.
That's such a key point, because as we walk through the theatrical plot, you'll really see how much this whole Curse of Thorn thing just permeates everything. So the film picks up 6 years after the pretty jarring end of Halloween 5. Remember, Jamie Lloyd and Michael were abducted by that shadowy man in black guy?
Right, from that unknown facility. Very abrupt ending.
Totally. And in a really startling and frankly kind of disturbing development, we find Jamie, who's now 15, she's been impregnated by this cult and gives birth.
Yeah, it's a dark turn right from the start.
It really is. So she makes this desperate escape attempt with the help of a nurse who, surprise, surprise, quickly becomes Michael's first victim after Jamie gets away.
Of course, standard slasher movie protocol.
Pretty much. Jamie flees with her newborn baby, who she names Steven. But Michael, you know, he's always relentless. He catches up to her. And in this really tragic, brutal scene, he kills her, impales her on some farm equipment, I think.
Yeah, it's nasty. But she manages to hide the baby first.
Exactly. In her final act, she hides baby Steven away, which basically sets up the central mystery and the ticking clock for the rest of the movie. Now, amid all this chaos, we see the return of some really familiar faces, people central to the original Halloween story who get sucked back into Michael's nightmare. Dr. Loomis, played by the irreplaceable Donald Pleasence.
Thank goodness.
He's actually retired from psychiatry now, living out in this secluded cabin, but he gets drawn right back in. He's visited by his old colleague, Dr. Terrence Wynn, who's the chief administrator back at Smith's Grove Sanitarium, Michael's old haunt.
Wynn. He becomes important.
Very. And it's through this visit that they overhear Jamie's desperate plea for help on a local radio show. It's this chilling message that immediately puts Loomis back on Michael's trail. He has to confront his nemesis one last time.
It pulls him back in, doesn't it? He can't escape Michael.
Never. And then there's Tommy Doyle. Remember him? The scared little kid Laurie Strode babysat in the original 78 film.
Yeah, played by Paul Rudd here.
Right. Fast forward to Curse, and he's now this adult, living as kind of a recluse, seems totally obsessed with Michael Myers and his motives. Almost as obsessed as Loomis, really.
He's been watching, waiting.
Exactly. And it's Tommy who tracks Jamie's call for help to a bus station and finds the hidden baby. He takes him in, names him Steven. And yeah, like you said, this is Paul Rudd's feature film debut. Just wild to think about his career starting here.
From Haddonfield to the quantum realm.
Oh.
Quite a leap.
No kidding. Okay, so the story also weaves in a new set of characters. The Strode family. Now, they're not directly related to Laurie, but they're relatives of Laurie's adoptive family who live in the old Myers house.
Okay. Living in the Myers house, that's never a good sign.
Never. So we meet John and Debra Strode, their adult kids, Cara and Tim, and Cara's 6-year-old son, Danny. And Danny starts having these disturbing visions of the man in black, and he even hears voices, which is a clear, really ominous sign that he might be on a similar dangerous path to young Michael Myers.
Right, the whole hearing voices thing connects back.
Exactly. And it's a neat little Easter egg for fans. The names John and Debra Strode are direct nods to Halloween co-creators John Carpenter and Debra Hill.
Nice touch.
And the character of Danny was apparently explicitly modeled after Danny Torrance from The Shining.
Wow, okay. So they're really leaning into that hereditary trauma, supernatural influence idea.
Totally. So as the plot moves along, Michael's body count just starts climbing rapidly, as you'd expect.
Naturally.
We see the brutal deaths of the nurse who helped Jamie Strode, John Strode, who, in the theatrical cut, gets electrocuted with this really graphic head explosion.
Yeah, that was something else.
Yeah.
Over the top, even for Halloween.
Definitely. Then there's the radio host, Barry Sims, Tim Beth. These kills often happen around Haddonfield's Harvest Festival.
Creates the unsettling contrast, right? The town trying to celebrate while Michael's just rampaging.
Exactly. The atmosphere is thick with dread. That joyful town fair vibe keeps getting ripped apart by this horrifying violence. And this all leads up to the big reveal, the core of this film's attempt at mythology, the Thorn revelation.
Here we go.
Tommy Doyle, who's apparently spent years obsessively researching this stuff, explains the ancient druid curse of Thorn. This curse, he says, compels its bearer, Michael, obviously, to murder their own family on Halloween night. It's about ensuring the continuity of this dark lineage, the flow of dark energy, whatever.
So it's not random. He has to kill his family.
According to this, yeah. And Stephen, Jamie's baby, is Michael's final intended sacrifice to complete this whole gruesome, bloodline-purifying ritual.
Okay.
And adding another layer, Mrs. Blankenship, the neighbor who chillingly babysat young Michael.
Oh, right, the babysitter.
Yeah. She reveals that even as a kid, Michael heard voices, which directly implies that young Danny Strode is on a dangerously similar path. He could be the next bearer of the curse.
So they're really trying to tie it all together. Explain the inexplicable evil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shifts the whole understanding of Michael from just pure evil to mythically explained evil.
Whether that works or not is the big question.
Right. So this supernatural stuff culminates when the cult members, led by Dr. Wynn, eventually abduct Kara, Danny, and baby Stephen. They take them to the ominous Smith's Grove Sanitarium, Michael's old stomping grounds. Kara gets locked in this max security ward designed for study and containment.
Sounds pleasant.
While the boys are held in an operating room, hinting at some kind of horrific scientific experiment in progress.
So it's not just ancient curses. There's some kind of science angle, too.
Yeah, it gets a bit muddled, which we'll get into. So Tommy and Loomis naturally converge on the sanitarium to rescue them. Loomis confronts Wynn, who gives this chilling speech, suggesting the Smith's Grove staff have been studying Michael's evil, trying to harness it, control it, maybe even replicate it.
Okay, so Wynn's definitely the mastermind here.
Seems like it. Wynn implies Stephen, the baby, is the successful result of their experiments, a child literally bred for evil.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. Wynn even tries to get Loomis to join him, saying Loomis was the first to recognize Michael's true, profound evil.
And Loomis refuses, obviously.
Yeah. Staunchly refuses. And gets knocked out by a doctor for his trouble. Meanwhile, Tommy manages to free Kara. They grab the kids and are pursued by Michael through the sanitarium corridors. Classic chase scene. They stumble upon Wynn and his team preparing for some kind of surgical procedure, the culmination of their research. But then Michael suddenly appears. And in a shocking twist, he turns on the cult members themselves, kills Wynn and all his staff.
Huh. Okay, didn't see that coming.
Okay.
But Michael isn't entirely Wynn's pawn.
It's ambiguous in the theatrical cut. Maybe he just hates everyone. Anyway, Tommy and Kara rescue the kids. They end up in this lab filled with horrifying sights, glass cases with malformed fetuses, the grotesque results of Wynn's failed attempts to clone Michael's DNA or something.
Oof, yeah, the science angle gets really weird there.
Totally. So Tommy, in a last-ditch effort, injects Michael with some kind of corrosive liquid, like acid.
Yeah, something green and bubbling.
Right. And then just unleashes his rage, beats Michael unconscious with a lead pipe. Very cathartic for Tommy, I guess.
After all those years.
Yeah. So Tommy, Kara, and the kids escape Smith's Grove. But Dr. Loomis stays behind. He says he has some business to attend to.
Uh-oh. Famous last words in a horror movie.
Pretty much. The film ends with Michael's mask lying alone on the lab floor, and you just hear Loomis screaming in the background. Fates unknown.
Very abrupt. Very unsatisfying for a lot of people.
Absolutely. It's a chillingly sudden end, leaving so much unresolved.
So, as you've laid out that whole wild plot, it really brings us back to that core question. Did explaining Michael's motives, defining his evil with the curse of Thorn, did that enhance him or detract? On one hand, you see the attempt, right? Building this grander mythology, connecting to hints from earlier films like Halloween the Second Sam Hain references, or that bit in the novelization about his grandfather hearing voices.
They're trying to connect dots.
They were definitely trying. But for so many longtime fans, reducing Michael to a cult's pawn, just an instrument of destiny, it felt like a betrayal.
Took away the mystery.
Exactly. His power, his terror, was in that randomness, that pure, unknowable evil, giving him a reason or a master. It risks making him less scary, not more.
Right, not just a force of nature anymore.
Precisely. He becomes this manipulated figure, and that just fundamentally changes the fear he evokes. It's that classic horror dilemma. Does explaining the monster kill the scare? Curse of Michael Myers is right in the thick of that debate.
Okay, you've heard the wild plot, but honestly, the real horror story was actually getting this film made.
Huh. Often the case, isn't it?
Seriously, let's pull back the curtain on its incredibly tumultuous journey. It's just a testament to how many hands, how many conflicting ideas can touch one project and almost tear it apart. So the series had actually been on hold for a few years after Halloween 5. The Revenge of Michael Myers came out in '89.
Right, that one didn't land too well, financially or critically.
Exactly. Producer Mustafa Akkad, the main guy behind the franchise, he hit the brakes because he felt Halloween 5 had strayed too far from the vibe of Halloween 4. Plus, the box office was way down, a clear sign of audience fatigue or disinterest.
So he wanted a course correction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, there were expectations that Danielle Harris, who played Jamie, and Don Shanks, who played Michael in 5, would return, along with Pleasence, of course. But the series got stuck in this legal swamp that delayed any sequel for years.
Rights issues. The bane of many franchises.
Tell me about it. So, around 1990, during this limbo, Daniel Farrens, who was a huge, longtime Halloween fan...
A writer we mentioned earlier?
Right. He took it upon himself to write the 6th film, and he was so passionate, so dedicated, that he didn't just send in a script, he presented a detailed Bible of the entire franchise to the studio.
Wow, okay. That's dedication.
Isn't it? Like a comprehensive timeline of kills, character bios for everyone, deep research on that Thorn symbol from Part 5. He laid out this whole ambitious vision for how it could all connect in Halloween 6.
So he really knew his stuff. He was a perfect guy, in theory.
Or maybe the most unfortunate guy, given what happened next, because the film just languished in development hell. A planned October 1990 release came and went.
Stuck.
Totally stuck. Akkad kept trying, though. He even courted the acclaimed Italian director Michele Soavi in '92, but Soavi turned it down. Said it was too complex, apparently.
Interesting.
Then came more legal battles over the Halloween rights, just delaying everything further. Eventually, Miramax Films, through their Dimension Films division, snapped up the rights.
The Weinsteins enter the picture.
Yeah.
That often complicates things.
Understatement. And during this whole legal tug-of-war, John Carpenter himself, series co-creator, actually pitched a competing idea to New Line Cinema for a Halloween film set on a, wait for it, space station.
Get out, Michael Myers in space. Seriously.
Seriously. Can you imagine? Like Jason X, but with Michael. Thankfully, or maybe regrettably for curiosity's sake, that never happened, but it shows how wild things were getting.
Wow. Okay, so Miramax gets the rights.
And the development becomes this legendary nightmare, a revolving door of talent, constant clashes. Miramax wanted production by October '93. That passed. So Bob Weinstein hired Gary Fleder to direct. Fleder brought in screenwriter Phil Rosenberg, who wrote a script called Halloween 666, The Origin.
That title again?
Yep. This draft had a Chicago reporter covering Haddonfield's first Halloween in 5 years, then the killings start again. But Mustafa Akkad hated Rosenberg's script. Miramax liked it, though, until Fleder dropped out, citing creative differences.
The classic Hollywood exit line.
Always. Then, in a truly wild turn, Miramax approached Quentin Tarantino. He'd just done Pulp Fiction for them.
Tarantino directing Halloween. Whoa.
Right. He never wrote a full script, but he pitched this idea where Michael Myers and the Man in Black flee Haddonfield together and go on a road trip down Route 66, just murdering people.
That sounds exactly like something Tarantino would pitch. Very natural-born killers.
Totally. He was pitching NBK to Miramax around the same time. Anyway, he declined Halloween, but suggested Scott Spiegel, who co-wrote Evil Dead II.
Okay, good horror cred there.
Yeah, but Spiegel wasn't thrilled with Rosenberg's script either, so he left too. It was just this dizzying merry-go-round.
Constant turnover.
The chaos didn't stop. By April '94, Phil Rosenberg's brother, Scott, was revising the script. Failed to satisfy Akkad. Rejected, studio brings in more writers, Irving Belatesh and Lawrence Guterman, to overhaul Halloween 666. An October '94 release is looming. Matthew Patrick gets hired as director, flies to Salt Lake City for location scouting. But nobody is happy with the script. Patrick calls it unfinished.
Still no solid script, weeks before shooting. Yikes.
Exactly. Tensions are flaring between Akkad and Bob Weinstein. No finalized cast. So Patrick quits in May 94, just 2 weeks before filming was supposed to start.
An absolute mess.
A complete nightmare. So June 94, Daniel Farrens, the fanboy with the Bible, gets rehired. He has just a few months to write a new screenplay before the October shooting date.
Talk about pressure.
Right. Fred Walton was attached to direct briefly, but he wanted a totally different plot, like Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, with Jamie committing suicide early on.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah, the Weinsteins shot that down fast. Then they hired Joe Chappelle, impressed by his indie film Thieves Quartet. Farrens' original goal for the script was pretty ambitious. Bridge the later films, 4 and 5, with the early ones, 1 and 2, but also take it somewhere new so the series could continue.
Trying to connect everything, basically.
Yeah, which meant finally explaining the man in black and the thorn symbol from part 5. He even tried to contact the writers of 4 and 5, but they couldn't give him clear answers on what they intended.
So he was left holding the bag, mythologically speaking.
Pretty much. Had to pick up the pieces, as he put it, and invent his own mythology. Yeah. Now, Farrens himself had this interesting, maybe controversial theory about Michael Myers. He saw him as a sexual deviant.
Right, you mentioned that, fixated on Judith's murder.
Yeah. He thought Michael felt this twisted need to repeat that act, finding a sister-like figure in Laurie that excited him. Farrens felt making Laurie his literal sister in the sequels actually weakened the original Simple Terror.
Where he was just pure, random evil.
Exactly. But when writing Curse, the studio specifically tasked Farrens with creating a grander mythology. Make Myers immortal. Explain his motives.
So define the undefinable.
Right. Farrens said he can't just be a man anymore. He's mythical, he's supernatural, there's something else driving him. A force. But he later admitted the film went too far in explaining Myers as more people got involved. He wasn't totally happy with the final result.
Caught between his own ideas and studio demands.
Totally. He expanded hugely on the Curse of Thorn plotline, the cult cursing Michael via the Thorn rune, compelling him to kill, granting immortality. He based it partly on dialogue from Halloween the 2nd about Samhain, when the veil is thin, the one time Michael gets active, and references to Druidism and Myers' grandfather hearing voices from the 78 novelization.
Pulling from different corners of the lore.
Trying to. Interestingly, while Jamie dies early in the theatrical cut, Farrens' initial script had her survive until the final act, then killed by Michael.
So that was closer to the producer's cut idea.
Seems like it. Other ideas, like the whole town of Haddonfield being in on the cult. Trimmed or scrapped. Akkad apparently wanted to save that for part 7.
Which never happened that way, obviously. Age 20 went a different direction.
Right. Farrens said there were like 10 different drafts of his script between June and October 94. And much of the finale in the theatrical version, the hospital stuff, the cult using Myers for science, he didn't write that. That was added later by Dimension.
Post-production rewrites. Oof.
Yeah. It really makes you wonder what his original full vision was. And the casting, just as messy. Donald Pleasence came back, thankfully. It was his final film. Farrens said he was fond of the script, even though he was quite ill during filming.
A trooper till the end. The film's dedicated to him.
It is, a nice tribute. But Danielle Harris, who played Jamie in 4 and 5, she was initially cast. She's 17, even got legally emancipated to do the film.
Okay, so she was ready to go.
Yeah, but she dropped out over a salary dispute with Dimension. She claimed they offered her a scaled $1,000 for a week's work, less than her emancipation cost. And apparently, casting implies she was just a scale character who dies in the first 20 minutes.
Wow. That's rough. Farrens wanted her, though.
He and producer Paul Freeman did, but their hands were tied. Harsh Hollywood reality. J.C. Brandy got cast instead.
Taking over a role meant for a fan favorite. Tough spot.
Definitely. For Tommy Doyle, they tried to get Brian Andrews from the original, but couldn't find him. No agent. So Paul Stephen Rudd got his first starring role right before Clueless hit.
Lucky break for him, maybe less so for the film's continuity needs.
Huh, maybe. For Kara, Marian Hagen was cast. But she later said the Weinsteins weren't keen on her looks. Called her too thin, chin too pointy.
Ugh, that's awful.
Right. But Farrens fought for her. Saw Jamie Lee Curtis quality and every girl vulnerability. They even asked Howard Stern to play the radio DJ, Barry Sims. He declined, doing private parts.
Howard Stern in a Halloween movie. Okay, that would be different.
Wouldn't it? For Dr. Wynn, Mitch Ryan was cast. But Farrens originally wanted Christopher Lee, a nod to Carpenter wanting Lee for Loomis back in '78.
Oh man, Christopher Lee as Wynn. That would have been amazing.
Incredible. And Denise Richards auditioned for Beth, but didn't get it. Lastly, George P. Wilbur, Michael from Halloween 4, came back.
But got replaced in reshoots.
Yep. by A. Michael Lerner because studio execs wanted a less bulky Michael, which naturally led to continuity errors you can spot if you're looking.
Chaos. Compromise after compromise.
It really sounds like a production nightmare from start to finish.
It absolutely highlights the impact of constant change and those competing visions.
Yeah.
Just the sheer number of creative people who touched this before filming even started, it inevitably led to a fractured vision.
Mm-hmm.
That tension between Akkad's company, Nightfall, Farron's original script, and Dimension Films' constant demands, it just created this environment where a single cohesive story was almost impossible.
Pulled in too many directions.
Exactly. It was a brutal tug-of-war for control from day one. You could almost see the cracks forming in the film's foundation before they even shot a single frame.
You know, it's wild how the chaos didn't actually stop once the cameras finally started rolling. If anything, it arguably got worse.
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about how the film continued its bumpy ride even after principal photography began. Filming officially kicked off on Halloween itself, October 31st, 1994, in Salt Lake City.
Fitting start date.
Yeah, but right within the first week, boom, an early winter snowstorm hits, forced a lot of planned outdoor scenes inside, complicated things right off the bat, quick rewrites, logistical nightmares.
Nature wasn't cooperating either.
Nope. The original hospital scenes, though, were creatively shot at the abandoned old primary children's hospital there. Give it a genuinely eerie feel.
Sometimes limitations breed creativity, I guess.
It's true. But on set, reportedly even more chaos. Almost a breakdown of the usual filmmaking hierarchy. Producer Paul Freeman and director Joe Chappelle were apparently rewriting the ending constantly, sometimes shot to shot as deadlines loomed.
Rewriting the ending while shooting it. That's never a good sign.
Never. Freeman, especially, was said to have taken extreme measures, sending crew home during key scenes, just deleting scripted scenes, rewriting dialogue, action, even directing second-unit shots himself and supervising the initial post-production cut.
Whoa, wait. The producer was basically taking over.
Sounds like it. And these complications were so bad that Miramax, Dimension's parent company, stepped in. They took over production and ordered extensive reshoots.
Okay, so the studio officially intervened.
Big time. Associate producer Malek Akkad, Mustafa's son, even openly admitted the film lacked a cohesive vision, said it was because multiple entities, Dimension, Nightfall, Farron's, were all pulling in different directions.
A Frankenstein's monster being assembled in real time, like you said.
Exactly. And this leads us right to the critical turning point. The infamous test screening.
The dreaded test screening, where films can live or die.
Totally. Early 1995, after principal photography and initial editing, they held a test screening in New York City. This was pivotal. The feedback from this one audience would drastically change the movie. Actress Marianne Hagen, Kara, described the audience as mostly 14-year-old boys.
Okay, maybe not the most nuanced focus group for a film trying complex mythology.
Probably not. And during the Q&A after, one of these kids apparently voiced strong dislike for the film's original ending.
The one with the Celtic ritual and Loomis getting the curse?
That's the one. For a studio wanting immediate thrills and a straightforward slasher, huge red flag.
They panicked.
Looks like it. As a direct result, the movie was rushed back into production. Extensive, costly reshoots in LA, summer of '95. Just 4 days of additional shooting, but it had a massive, transformative impact on the final film.
And crucially, without Donald Pleasence.
Right. He had tragically passed away February 2nd, 1995, nearly 8 months before the film eventually came out. He was already sick during the original shoot, bless him. The film was dedicated to his memory.
So his absence meant big changes were needed for any new Loomis scenes.
Huge complications. Had to rewrite around him or just cut his involvement in the new ending. So under immense pressure, Farron's and Chappelle rewrote the script for the reshoots almost daily. Chappelle apparently had this wild idea first.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted Kara to become this machine gun-toting heroine like Linda Hamilton in T2.
Whoa. That's a choice.
Right. Farron's wisely dropped that, thankfully. Also dropped adding thunderous voices of God to the new climax.
Good call.
Instead, they hastily added a new subplot, which did make it into the theatrical cut. This sinister group of doctors at Smith's Grove trying to harness or weaponize scientifically engineered evil.
The weird science angle again.
Yep. Gave Michael this new, more clinical, but still disturbing purpose. Rand Rabbit, who'd rewritten Hellraiser, Bloodline for Dimension, helped with the theatrical ending.
Okay, bringing in another writer, more cooks.
Exactly. Resulting in that extended chase sequence, a higher body count, and Tommy's big fight with Michael. Interestingly, Rovich's original rewritten ending, with Tommy hoisting Michael up with chains. Never fully filmed, ran out of time.
Seriously?
Yeah, last night of filming, way behind schedule. To save on overtime, they just scrapped the unshot pages. That final iconic shot of Michael's mask on the floor, done at the absolute last minute. A frantic decision that accidentally became memorable, if ambiguous.
Wow. Film production sounds glamorous.
Doesn't it? And remember A. Michael Lerner replacing George P. Wilbur as Michael?
Yeah, the less bulky Myers.
That happened during these reshoots. Studio execs explicitly wanted a leaner look. Led to those continuity errors in the last third. Different physiques, you know?
If you're lucky, you can totally spot it.
Yeah. Some extra footage for the finale, those frantic chases, shot at Queen of Angels Hospital in L.A., another location, another layer of disjointed production.
Patching it together.
Totally. And beyond the reshoots, the film went through significant editing in post, almost surgical. Resulted in much faster pacing, a flashier style, more blood and guts over suspense. But according to Farrens, it just made the movie more confusing.
Lost the atmosphere.
Exactly. He hated it. Likened the final cut style, those flash cuts, to an MTV video rather than a Halloween film. Said it wasn't intended, didn't fit the series vibe.
You can see what he means. It feels very different from the earlier ones.
Right. It wasn't just style, it betrayed that slow burn dread of the original. Instead of building suspense, it just throws rapid cuts at you. Jarring.
Makes you out of it.
Totally. Composer Alan Howarth felt the same. Called the final product a fix job. His original score was redone, sound design altered from his minimalist approach, just further diluting the original vision.
So the whole artistic team felt compromised.
Seems like it. It really was a Frankenstein's monster by the time it hit theaters, stitched together from all these disparate parts.
This whole phase is just a textbook example of how a film can be fundamentally reshaped, maybe even broken, by external pressures.
Absolutely.
And it raises that huge question for filmmakers. When does feedback, like from test screenings, become so demanding that it actually hurts the original vision?
Yeah, where's the line?
Farrens himself said the film's confusion came directly from these drastic changes, pushing for more intensity, more gore, especially based on feedback from like 14-year-old boys who might just want jump scares. It completely derailed that original gothic atmospheric horror idea.
Sacrificed it for perceived appeal.
Exactly. It created a film that felt totally at odds with itself. Trying to explain an ancient curse while being cut like a music video, it's a fascinating, if unfortunate, lesson in studio control versus artistic integrity.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and why this film holds such a unique, almost legendary status in the Halloween franchise.
The two versions.
Exactly. Unlike most films, Halloween 6 is famous for having two widely known, really distinct versions that troubled production. It led to a heated legal dispute between Nightfall Productions, a CADS company, wanting the original cut Farrens envisioned, and Dimension Films, who'd pushed for and paid for all those reshoots.
A battle for the final cut.
Yep. And ultimately, Dimension, with more money and distribution power, won. Their heavily altered, test audience-driven cut was the one released theatrically, to a largely disappointed public, we should add.
Right. It didn't exactly set the world on fire.
No. But the story, thankfully for fans, doesn't end there. The original cut, the one screened for those test audiences and then basically shelved, it became known almost reverently as the producer's cut.
The lost version.
Pretty much. For years, it only existed as these low-quality bootlegs, grainy VHS tapes, then dodgy DVDs passed around among hardcore Halloween fans.
Like forbidden knowledge.
Totally. It gained this significant cult following, a whispered legend. People were selling bootlegs on eBay for crazy prices. Online petitions popped up demanding an official release.
The fans kept it alive.
They really did. Farrens himself noted its amazing life, all thanks to the fascination with this alternate version, this hidden chapter. And finally, almost 20 years after the theatrical debut, the producer's cut got its first official home media release. September 2014, part of a big Blu-ray box set from Scream Factory and Anchor Bay.
A huge moment for the fan base. Vindication, really.
Absolutely. A long wait, but they finally got to see it properly. So let's dive into the key differences, especially in the plot, because they are dramatic. They fundamentally change the film's emotional core and story.
Okay, lay it on us.
The biggest difference, the one that totally shifts the emotional weight, is Jamie Lloyd's fate. In the theatrical cut, like we said, she's killed off early by Michael. Brutal, quick.
Yeah, it felt kind of dismissive of her character.
Right. But in the producer's cut, Jamie does not die early. She survives being stabbed by Michael in the barn, badly wounded, but alive. She ends up in a coma at the hospital. And she's visited there by Loomis and Wynn. which means more screen time for Donald Pleasence, something fans really wanted.
Oh, interesting. So she's still a factor for longer.
Much longer. Her actual death happens way later in the film. An unseen person later revealed to be Wynn himself shoots her in the head with a silenced pistol. It's a much more insidious, calculated murder.
Wynn kills her. Wow. Okay, that's darker.
Yeah, and the producer's cut also includes this disturbing kind of gothic montage during her coma, shows these fragmented, unsettling flashes of her child's conception among the cult, implying a much darker, maybe ritualistic origin for baby Stephen.
Whoa. Okay, so that leans way more into the cult stuff.
Totally. It's a massive shift. Jamie goes from an early victim to a more central figure whose death is tied directly to the cult's plans, not just Michael's immediate rage.
Changes her whole arc.
Completely, but maybe the most dramatic difference between the two versions is the cult's ultimate plan and, even more profoundly, Dr. Loomis's fate.
Okay, the ending. This is the big one.
It really is. In the theatrical cut, the ending feels ambiguous, almost unfinished. Tommy injects Michael, beats him up. Tommy, Kara, kids escape. Loomis stays behind. Screens are heard off screen. Fate's unknown. Michael's mask is just left on the floor. That's it.
Yeah, very abrupt. Leaves you hanging.
Totally. Now compare that to the producer's cut ending. It's far more complex, way darker, and arguably much more disturbing. Leaves you with this real sense of despair.
Okay, how does it go down?
Kara wakes up on this concrete slab at Smith's Grove, surrounded by cult members, including Mrs. Blankenship, the babysitter, and Wynn's secretary, Dawn.
The whole town is involved, kinda.
Seems like it. Wynn, in a chilling reveal, is conducting this ceremony. Michael is supposed to kill baby Stephen, the final sacrifice of innocent blood. Then the curse of Thorn passes to young Danny, and Kara is meant to be Danny's first ritual sacrifice.
Jeez, that's intense.
Right. Kara, thinking fast, stalls the ritual by revealing that Stephen is Michael's biological child.
Wait, what? Michael's kid?
Yep. A truly shocking twist. Changes everything. Tommy then takes Wynn hostage, forces the cult to free Kara and the kids. Tommy uses the power of ancient rune symbols of protection to stop Michael in his tracks, paralyzes him momentarily. Loomis helps them escape.
So Tommy actually uses the magic stuff.
He does. Loomis then tells the others he has unfinished business, stays behind to face Michael. He finds what looks like Michael on the floor, pulls off the mask. And it's Wynn. Wearing the mask, apparently switched clothes with Michael to try and escape. As Wynn dies, the Thorn symbol mysteriously appears on Loomis's wrist.
No. Loomis gets the curse.
Yep. Signifying Loomis is now the new cult leader, cursed to carry Michael's evil. He just screams in utter despair, realizing he's become the very thing he fought his whole life.
Oh my God, that's devastating for Loomis.
Isn't it? And that scream, it's actually the ambient noise you hear in the final frame of the theatrical cut. A little Easter egg if you knew the story.
Whoa. Mind blown.
Meanwhile, Michael is shown escaping into the night, wearing Wynn's Men in Black outfit. Still out there, free. The cycle continues.
A completely different ending. Darker, more definitive, but man, poor Loomis.
Such a tragic final chapter for his character, way bleaker than the theatrical cut's ambiguity. And there are other smaller changes, too, that add up. John Strode's death. Shorter, less graphic in the producer's cut. No exploding head.
Probably for the best.
Probably. Also, various transitional shots throughout the producer's cut were cut short or removed in the theatrical version, contributing to that MTV video, Feel Farron's Hated. Scenes feel more abrupt, less atmospheric.
Little changes that make a big difference in tone.
Exactly. These seemingly minor edits collectively shape two very, very different viewing experiences.
What's so fascinating is how the producer's cut offers that more coherent, even if it's equally wild and out there, explanation for the Thorn cult. And that radically different, arguably more disturbing, and certainly more impactful ending for Loomis.
Right. It feels more complete, even if it's bonkers.
It really highlights that creative tension we talked about. The gothic, atmospheric horror Farron's aimed for versus the studio demanding something more intense, more blood and guts.
Driven by that test screening.
Exactly. And the fact that the studio's demands were so heavily influenced by, 14-year-old boys. It's a fascinating, if maybe problematic detail.
It tells you a lot about commercial pressures.
It really does. How they can fundamentally change a film's artistic direction, often sacrificing a unique vision for what they think is broader appeal. This whole dichotomy is why the film, despite bombing initially, is still debated and reevaluated today.
Okay, so after all that production chaos, all the reshoots, the two different versions floating around, how did Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, actually do with critics and audiences when the theatrical cut first came out?
Yeah, the moment of truth.
Well, to put it mildly, The initial critical response was overwhelmingly negative, like a brutal drubbing.
Oof. Not surprising given the backstory, but still rough.
Totally. On review sites like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, it holds the dubious distinction of being the lowest rated Halloween film on both. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a dismal 8% positive from 36 critics. Average score, 3.6 out of 10.
8%? Wow.
Yeah. The consensus there reads, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers trades the simple, brutal effectiveness of the original for convoluted mysticism with disastrously dull results.
Sums up the main complaint pretty well.
Over on Metacritic, even worse, a score of 10 out of 100, signifying overwhelming dislike based on 13 reviews. Just bottom of the barrel.
10 out of 100, that's impressively bad.
Isn't it? And critics did not hold back. Daniel Kimmel at Variety called it tired, and Run of the Mill said it brought nothing new. Mick LaSalle at the San Francisco Chronicle lamented the total lack of suspense, called it bland, deadening, and by far the worst in the series, said even Donald Pleasence couldn't liven it up.
Harsh.
Stephen Holden at the New York Times found the script impossibly convoluted, said the shock effects were so ham-fisted they backfired, becoming predictable. Josh Hartle at the Seattle Times slammed its conventionality, said they just trotted out old slasher tactics instead of doing anything clever.
Just going through the motions.
Pretty much. Jack Matthews at the LA Times called it a mere body count film. Tom Marstad at the News Press gave it a half star, criticized the lack of plot, too much gore, said there was no follow-through, no real attempt at story.
Ouch. Half a star.
Richard Harrington at the Washington Post sniped that the filmmakers forgot to stop in at Plots R Us.
Zing.
And Sean Means at the Salt Lake Tribune pointed out the confusing muddle of everything runic stones, Satan worship, DNA testing, boogeyman stories that it never gels.
Yeah, it does sound like a mess on paper.
While Pleasence's performance and maybe the look of Michael sometimes got slightly better mentions, it rarely saved the overall criticism. It was, by pretty much all accounts, a critical disaster upon release.
But what's truly fascinating here, and this is pretty rare, is the significant shift in perception that's happened since then.
Right, the theatrical cut got buried.
Totally lambasted.
Yeah.
But the eventual official release of the producer's cut fundamentally altered its legacy. It changed the whole conversation in really profound ways. It's almost like a different film clawed its way out of the wreckage.
So how is it viewed now?
Well, in modern assessment, especially among diehard fans and a lot of horror critics, the tide has turned dramatically. Many people, like Alex DiVincenzo at Bloody Disgusting or Jessica Beebe at Screen Rant, now argue pretty confidently that the producer's cut is the undeniably superior version.
What makes it better, in their view?
Several key things. It features significantly more Dr. Loomis, giving Pleasence a richer final performance. It offers a much clearer, more coherent take on the whole Curse of Thorn subplot, letting that mythology actually breathe a bit.
Makes more sense, maybe.
Or at least it commits to its weirdness more fully. And the ending provides better context for the cult's plans and Loomis's tragic fate. It feels more complete.
So the story holds together better.
Arguably, yes. And some scholars and critics have even found positive things in the film overall, not just the producer's cut. Like Robert and Gwendolyn Nowlin, in a 2001 book, The Films of the 90s, surprisingly called it an atmospheric and suspenseful thriller.
Wow, that's a complete turnaround from the initial reviews.
Isn't it? And maybe most strikingly, in a 2022 IndieWire ranking of all the Halloween films, Curse of Michael Myers was placed at number 5.
Number 5, out of all of them. Ahead of some beloved ones, presumably.
Way ahead of many. Writer Jamie Rigetti praised it as one of the most underrated sequels, said it really does have it all. The wild Curse of Thorn stuff, Tommy Doyle's return, new Strodes, and crucially, that final goodbye to Donald Pleasence as Loomis.
So a total reevaluation.
It really speaks volumes about the power of maybe a more coherent, even if unconventional, artistic vision finally seeing the light of day. So this raises a really important question for us and for you, the listener. What does it say about a film when its initial release gets totally trashed, buried at the bottom of rankings, but a later lost version fundamentally changes its reputation and builds this passionate cult following?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, it really underscores the power of a coherent vision, right? Even if that vision is totally bizarre and maybe not what general audiences or studios wanted at the time.
The original idea had something.
Exactly. It tells us that sometimes a film's true potential might be buried under layers of compromise, studio interference, frantic re-editing, only to be appreciated years later by fans willing to dig for it.
The dedicated fans found it.
They did. It's a testament to how creative integrity, even if it's flawed in execution, can sometimes find its audience eventually.
#tag outro.
Wow, what an incredible, almost unbelievable journey we've just taken through Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers.
It's a wild ride, isn't it?
It really is. We've seen a film born from this complex, almost cursed production, marred by legal battles, that chaotic revolving door of talent, intense studio meddling. We explored how one single poor test screening, heavily influenced by, teenage boys, triggered drastic, probably unrecoverable reshoots that just fundamentally reshaped the entire film.
Leading to the two versions.
Exactly. Leading ultimately to the emergence of its two very distinct, almost warring versions. And we've tracked its remarkable path from being critically slammed as one of the absolute worst entries in a beloved series.
To being reevaluated, finding its defenders. Right. To, for many, becoming this reevaluated cult classic, thanks largely to the power of that infamous producer's cut and the unwavering dedication of the fans. It's a true saga, both on and off the screen.
It really is a fascinating case study.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, at the end of the day?
Well, Halloween. The Curse of Michael Myers really stands as this compelling testament to the fact that even within big, established franchises, there's always this underlying story. A narrative of creative struggle, of painful compromise, and often these unseen, unheard versions of a story.
The what-ifs.
Exactly. It invites us to consider not just the final product we get, the version that plays in theaters or streams, but all those layers beneath it, the decisions, the pressures, the unseen cuts, the abandoned visions that shaped it.
Makes you look at movies differently.
It really does. It prompts this fascinating question that goes way beyond just this one film. Next time you watch any film, maybe you'll be prompted to ask, what other stories might exist just beyond this theatrical cut? What was the original vision? How did it get changed? And why?
Digging deeper.
Yeah. It's a fascinating rabbit hole to fall down, and it often reveals just how fragile and yet sometimes how incredibly resilient creative works can be when they face those commercial pressures. It makes you realize that sometimes the best version of a story isn't the one you see first,
but the one you have to seek out.